All right, Michael Whiteside, welcome to the DFL Before DNF podcast. You and I met at Yoko Taco. I think we sat and chat there at a taco shop downtown Salt Lake. Yeah. And we talked for a while, and I think there's, just from a personality standpoint, I just really enjoyed you as a person. And obviously we met under the context of being ultra runners or lovers of the sport and doers of it, some better than others.
Fellow crazies.
And this year you endeavored to do the Wasatch 100 and the Bear 100 back to back. And for those who don't know, those are just some pretty amazing races. Those are really like, if you love races that aren't like marquee races but deserve to be, but the directors I think have made intentional decisions to not let them become that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Those are the best races in the country.
Yeah, for sure.
And they happen very close to each other. And one would argue that no one should run both of them. But there are a few who do it, and you're one of them.
Yeah.
So I wanted to chat with you about that. But before we go into that, I wanted to just get to know you a little bit better. So, Michael Whiteside, tell me what you do. You got family. Yeah. Tell us where you work, just kind of the person. Who are you?
Yeah, so I'm married. I have a 13-year-old daughter. And I have an interesting job, very niche. I sell hydraulic controls for snowplow trucks.
Oh.
So, and I cover most of the West. I think 6 or 7 states. I can't remember how many. But
so anyway. Is this a busy time of year, or is it busy in the off season you're trying to sell?
Yeah, I mean, it's so the selling happens through the summer usually, and then a lot of technical work when you get into like the fall. Everybody forgets how to use a snowplow.
So how many hours a week are you putting in on your day job?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I like to say I don't really have a job most times.
Yeah.
It's pretty light duty. I mean, it really depends on the day. It could be 10 hours, could be 12 hours, but could be 4.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, I mean, I don't have a schedule. My wife hates that part of it because I don't I work from home, and I've been doing this about 12 years. So pretty used to it by now. But,
same company?
Yeah, same company. We actually got purchased 6 or 7 years ago, but same gig.
So steady as it goes.
Yeah. It's sales though, man. It's, feast or famine.
Yeah, totally.
So it's, we work off state contracts and stuff. So anyway, yeah, it's pretty cool.
So when did you start to get the bug for ultras?
Yeah, that's that's a funny story. So I was kind of, I gained a bunch of weight when I got my sales gig because I was
because times were good.
Yeah, I mean, I went from being a mechanic, actually working for a living to free meals and sitting on my butt traveling and whatever. So I started like cycling because running was too hard, and I wasn't a fan of running, which is funny.
Yeah. How old were you when this was happening?
So this was 10 years ago. Well, like 12 years ago, I'd say.
We're about the same age. We're about 41.
Yep, 41.
Yep.
Be 42 here pretty soon. And so I was in my early 30s, right? And so started cycling, and I couldn't, I'm pretty competitive. I like to, race and see how I, line up against other people. And then, but I couldn't really find it cycling. You need like a team. You do these, intricate races, and it wasn't just like go out on Saturday and do a race.
Yeah.
So my wife did the Portland Marathon in 2016.
Nice. That's a good marathon.
It was rough, man. Poor girl.
Really?
It was raining the whole time, just a downpour.
Yeah.
I mean, typical Portland weather, right?
Yeah.
So it was kind of nasty, but I saw her finish, and I was like, dang, all right, maybe this is the ticket.
Yeah. So
I built my way up 5, 10K, half marathon. I've never actually done a marathon though. I kind of skipped that when my buddy, I was like, what's a marathon? So he actually asked me, I'd kind of heard about hundreds, but I didn't know anything about them.
Yeah.
And my buddy was doing Wasatch that I grew up with down in New Mexico. And he was like, I want you to pace me for a third of it. I was like, wait, what?
A third?
Like a third. I was like, if I remember what a third of 100 is, like that's over 30 miles, man. And he's like, yeah, you got it. He's like, I'll be slow. It's the last 30, Yeah. And at Wasatch, that's Brighton to the finish. So he picked me up at Brighton, and but leading up to that, I ran with him that March. So this is 2019.
Okay.
I ran with him.
Oh, that was the 40th anniversary.
Yeah.
I DNF'd that.
Oh, nice. Sweet. Yeah, so I probably saw you.
Yeah, maybe. Well, no, you were at Brighton. I didn't make it.
Right. So it was, yeah, I was like, okay. I ran with him in March, and I was terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought I was a runner, but I wasn't a trail runner, right? I mean, we
Yeah.
hit, hills, and I'm like sucking wind and way behind him. I'm like, oh man, I got some work to do.
Yeah.
So I ran pretty hard through the summer because I was terrified. I was
With
like,
no race, you just
Yeah.
got motivated, or,
Yeah.
or leading up to the pacing. The pacing
pacing,
was
right.
your that was your A race.
Yeah, that was my game, right?
That's
I mean, I hadn't even thought about signing up for a race at that point. So I was like,
Yeah.
I just got to pace him. I can't let him down. Super worried about that. So I overtrained like crazy to pace 30 miles, right? So I was like running. I probably could have ran the 100,
Yeah.
But so I worked hard and ended up pacing him. And, I mean, he's faster than me by far, but
Yeah.
still, mostly walking at that point,
Right.
hiking and, run some downhills. But anyway, so we got it done. And I saw him cross the finish line. I was like, dang, man, this is my life now. Like, I have to get a buckle,
immediately.
Yeah, immediately, I mean, because we kind of crewed him throughout the day. So I got to, see the community part of it. And I was like, dang, man, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, this is it, right?
There's some guys and women out there that are like, they're just 100 milers.
Right.
And there are also people out there who do 100 milers, but like they'll go crush a 50K and they'll go get a 50 mile. Maybe their A race next year is going to be a really difficult mountain 100K.
Right.
But then there are some people that are just 100 milers, that everything that they do is only preparing them for their next 100 miler, even if it's a 50K.
Right.
And that appears to be you. And what that person is to me is just like, you don't got time for anything else. You are a trail runner.
Right.
And to follow you on Instagram is to see lots of great photos long before the sun comes up.
That's a true story.
And you're running alone
Right.
in, wild animal country.
Oh, yeah. See eyeballs, no big deal.
And it doesn't bother you.
Nah.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about just, coming out of that 2019, you know that you're going to do it.
Yep.
Talk to me about between there and your first 100. What was your first 100?
Right. So, of course, this is, pre-COVID, right?
Yeah.
So I ended up doing the Antelope 50K in 19 as like my first ultra.
Okay.
So that was 2 months later, right, in
Nice.
November. So knocked that out, felt good, and was like, okay, I'm still terrified of hundreds. I'm like, I don't know, man, it looks hard.
Yeah.
So I signed up for Zion 100K in 20. So,
Did they cancel that
and
one?
they canceled
Yeah.
it. So I ended up doing my own 100K that May, just, made a silly course up and down the mountain.
Did you go back? Because that same company, Vacation Races, they did put on Bryce.
Right.
Did you go do that?
No, so I deferred until 21.
Okay.
And I bumped up from the 100K to the 100 miler. So that was going to be my first 100 miler.
Okay.
So I was like, I'm deferring.
Yeah.
I'd done 100K by myself at that point. So I was
Yeah.
like, I can do it. Let's go for it, man.
Yeah.
And so that like October, I hired a coach and tried to get serious about it.
Okay.
Because I didn't know. I found out very quickly during my own solo 100K that I didn't know what I was doing.
Who'd you hire as your coach?
Sylvia Greer.
Okay.
Greer Endurance is her company, and she's a powerhouse.
Nice.
I mean, and technically my cousin, I like to say. Through like 3 marriages, but we'll still call her
So
cousin.
you hired family.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I knew she was crazy, so I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, she's my people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
So-
and I think that crazy of that person who is just a 100 miler, you also, and this is where I can't keep up, but it seems like you love the training, or at least you're so consistent with your training that's part of like that 100-mile beast kind of thing.
Yeah.
You're out there a lot.
I am out there. So she has to kind of rein me in a little bit even, I mean, I'd run 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's what I was doing before I hired her. Just thought more was better, right? I mean,
Yeah. Isn't it always?
yeah, I mean, right? Just go all out. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, so she's reined me in a bit, right? Gives me rest days, which I wouldn't take if nobody made me.
Yeah.
So
Are those rest days tough psychologically?
they are, man. They're boring, right? I mean, I'm usually, I'll make myself busy. A bored runner makes a clean house, as they say. So it's, but I'm always terrified of letting myself down.
Yeah.
And I always think even if I miss a day, man, I'm gonna feel bad about it.
Yes.
So I'll find a way, right?
Yeah.
If I got to go at 4 a.m. to
Yeah.
take my daughter to school, or do whatever I got to do.
What time are you going to bed usually?
So, 10 or 11.
Okay. So you function pretty well with.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I try and, I got a sweet gig. So working from home, I get a nice afternoon nap if I need it, if it's because, 4 to 5 hours of sleep and, you get out there on the trail early, you're going to get wiped out. So.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you have sort of a, average is still the wrong word for it. You have a route that you take more often than others.
Right.
Tell us about that route. It's a pretty cool route.
Yeah. So, the long runs on the weekend are like the favorites, right? I mean, so I do this route where it's, you go up the start of Wasatch, right? You go up Bear Canyon.
You do. So that really is the start.
Yes.
It's the 3,000 feet.
Yeah. About
4,000 feet of gain over 2 miles, 3 miles?
It's,
maybe 4.
I think it's 4 miles from bottom to top. It takes 2 hours. It takes me the fastest I've done. It's just under 2 hours. Okay. So, it's legit. And then, you run across the top, across the ridge, and then come back down the old Wasatch.
But when you get up there, you don't go toward the those satellite things.
Right.
You go the other direction.
Correct.
You go north.
Sometimes we'll hit those, to add, if you need to add a little mileage.
Yeah, you go up there, loop back around.
Yeah, so do a little out and back. Because it's about an 18-mile loop. You end up with just north of 6,000 feet of vert. So, it's a good Saturday morning.
That's crazy. I mean, the 2 times I've gone for Wasatch, that Bear Canyon is it's memorable.
Yeah, it's no joke, man. A lot of attrition happens in there.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've done it 2 years in a row, and it's just, you see it, man. You see the people huffing wind and pausing on the side, and because it doesn't, and
it doesn't quit. And then the final push is like just insult to injury.
Right. Yeah, Strava, it's called death row. So,
So in 21, did you get Zion?
Yeah, so 21 I did Zion, and I actually signed up for Zion and Bear for 21.
Okay.
So I had it in my head, if I failed, if I DNF'd, I'd want another try at it.
Yeah.
And if I succeeded,
I want another try.
Exactly. Like there was no scenario where I wouldn't want to keep going.
Absolutely.
So I was like, well, it's just, you have to sign up early for the Bear. So I was like, let's just do it, man.
Yeah.
See what happens. So 21 I did Zion, and it was... it was hard.
Yeah.
It was everything I expected and more.
That climb up Gooseberry Mesa and the falling down of Gooseberry Mesa, like that's a real beast. It's a beast in its own right. It's no Bear Canyon, but it's got its own reputation.
Oh yeah. Well, and I mean, so the year I did it, you drop down that and then you come back up it at 70 or ish, right?
Yep.
So it was, it was in my head all day. Super worried about it, all
about
day
that coming back up at 65.
Coming back up, and it's funny because I kept getting in my head, just worried the whole time. I mean, worried in the 40-mile range that I wasn't going to be able to finish.
Yeah,
that I'm going so slow. I got no energy. Like, there's no way. Like, magically get energy back.
Right.
Like I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
But it happens, right?
Yeah.
You just ride the low and then you get through the highs. And, we got to that climb. I was with my coach at the time. She was pacing me and it just happened, climbed up it, felt great and ended up finishing out. It got hot again and I struggle in the heat generally and it's April, right?
Yeah.
So here in April, it's not above 70. So
no way.
And down there it was in the 80s. So I was cooking, right?
That's a lot.
Yeah. It was a good time though.
Then you get Bear that year.
Yep. Did Bear faster than I did Zion, learned a lot. Yeah, it was wild, right? I mean,
something.
Yeah, it was a half hour faster, but anyway.
Still.
Yeah. So, it felt good though. I felt like I was like I still don't feel like I belong, but it felt like I was like, okay, I can do this, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm figuring it out a little bit. I still feel like a rookie. Like there's just so much of a learning process. And then so after that, I'm like, my buddy did Wasatch. I just figured that's the next logical step is to give Wasatch a shot.
Okay. So you get in the lottery.
Yep. Got in the lottery, got in the first year.
Okay.
I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah. And so 22.
Yep. So that's 22. Finished Wasatch. Took a little bit longer than it took me for Bear because Wasatch is no joke, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unrelenting.
Yeah.
And I had paced Brighton to the finish twice at that point. Mm-hmm. So I knew what I was up against, towards the end. And I still wasn't ready for it.
Yeah.
It still hit me hard.
I tell you, in my 2 attempts at Wasatch, 2 DNFs, it was, I think, still even actually harder to be in the crew or to be in the aid station at Aunt Knowles as a volunteer one year.
Right.
Because getting to Aunt Knowles, it's like a 1.5 mile road that takes you like 3 hours to crawl up.
Right.
I mean, so even the aid station volunteers are doing their own versions of 100-mile efforts.
I think that was the first time
there.
I actually saw you was at the Aunt Knowles aid station.
Really?
Yeah. Because I remember.
Oh, I loved that.
Yeah. It was cold.
Yeah. Oh, it's cold. Man, I love that aid station because you can't drop. You were not allowed to drop.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't get you out of there. There was no chance.
Yeah. You either go back or keep going.
Yeah.
So why not just keep going?
Keep going. All right. Then you get the crazy idea. You're going to put in, was Bear a lottery or was it just a wait list?
Bear's first come, first serve. So
you got in the Bear.
Yep.
Put in the lottery for Wasatch. You got them both.
Yeah.
And, big miles training up. Leading up to it and training.
Yep.
Walk me through first Wasatch that year.
Right.
Let's go into like some late race stuff because, like I said, we're about the same age, so I feel okay calling you old.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Being in your 40s and going for that is like, can you imagine 20-year-old you thinking, hey, when I'm 40, I'm going to run Wasatch. You don't even know what Wasatch is. Then you hear about it like, in 20 years, when you're 40, you're going to do that.
Yeah, no way.
And so there you are, you're doing it. Like, do you have any, clear memories of the suffering, late race suffering there?
Oh, yeah. So, I knew what I was up against, right? Second time at it and second year in a row. So I'm like, okay, I had some strategies, right, that were going to get me through.
Yeah.
And I did better early on than I thought I would. But the struggle happened, that section between Big Mountain and Lambs. So, 30 to late 40 miles, it's a 18, 19
where you're running
mile
up that pole line kind of.
Yeah, and it's hot.
Super exposed.
And it's exposed and it's just miserable. And my stomach kind of started to turn and I wasn't really eating very well. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to, stay hydrated, which I did a pretty good job at. But, by the time I got to Lambs, sun's going down and I'm like, I'm behind. Yeah. So I'm already in my head, right? That I'm slow, I'm behind. I wanted to be here earlier.
Okay, but so pause right there. That stuff for me is like, are you saying it out loud? Are you like, do you have anyone that you're saying that to so they can say, hey, shut up?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I keep that all internal. That's one of the things I need to work on the next one is to say these out loud to people and give them a chance to shut that voice down. But what are you doing in that moment?
Yeah, so I had my good friend Ryan with me pacing, and he was a good job reassuring me, right? And I did vocalize like, man, this is later than I wanted to be. I wanted to be here when the sun was fully up, right? And the sun's going down, and it's starting to get cold, and it's like, man, and I didn't feel like I was moving. He's like, no, man, you're running a smart race, like you're doing fine, but the negative is just like, yeah, whatever, dude, you don't know.
Yeah, right.
So it's like, you know what you're talking about.
I know.
So, and my family was at, my wife, my daughter, her parents, and then my other pacer who was the pacer that got me in, or the guy that got me into this nonsense. So he was going to pace me right into the
guy
finish.
that you did at 19 from New Mexico?
Yep.
Okay.
So he's like, I got to repay the favor. So he came out
to
do the same section. And so they were all, really good at reassuring.
Yeah.
But, man, for me, once I get in that headspace, my belief of what other people say is almost null and void.
I had this exact discussion today. I am not externally motivated. Right. I'm internally motivated. And so I'm trying to flip a switch to see if I can bring in some of that stuff that other people say. But if I don't think I can keep going, I don't care what anybody says. I can't.
Right. Yeah. And it's, the big part for me is, I'm going to complain a lot, especially internally.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to give up unless you make me. Like it's not gonna stop me. It's gonna feel terrible, and I'm gonna say the worst things you could tell yourself, right? I mean, because we'll get, race number 2 of the double was a lot worse, but getting into the, once I got to Brighton, so back up one aid station, Scotts Ridge. Yeah. So you're there. It's a big drop down to Brighton, and I made the mistake of checking the time, and I don't know if it was a mistake or not, but it was 3 a.m., 3:30 a.m.
The cutoff at Brighton is like 6 or 6:30?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it might even be 7 now.
Okay.
It's too late in my opinion. But anyway, I don't think you can make it if you're there that late.
Yeah.
So in my head, I thought I have to be to Brighton. I got to be out of there before 5 a.m. To make it comfortably, right? I mean, I know it can take 12 hours to get from Brighton to the finish. It just can.
Yes.
I've done it twice, and it's at that point it's taken all of 12 hours, right? So I knew I was up against it, but it kind of lit a fire, you know, it was like good and bad.
Yeah.
So I just pummeled my way down to Brighton and got there before their predicted time, which I still felt way behind, you know.
Really?
I mean, there's a video, and I need to go through some of them, but there's a video of me getting into Brighton, and you can kind of see the panic in my face. You
Really?
know? Yeah, and it's just like, you know, I'm in my head at that point.
Yes.
And probably the worst part about the second half of Wasatch was I chafed really bad. And it was so painful, and it just demoralized me. And, you know, because once it comes on, you know, you're kind of screwed.
Absolutely.
There's no coming back, right? I mean, you're not going to heal. It's only going to get worse.
You're only going to get worse. No, there's not enough Vaseline out there.
No, there's not. So, you know, I was also panicking about that, you know, and just like, this is going to suck. And I knew every step after Brighton is not easy. You know, a lot of people say on paper that you're going to make up time. I just think that's a fallacy.
Yeah.
I just don't think, you know, I mean, it's a tough last 30 miles, man. It's no joke. So I knew, you know, I was just in my head the whole time. I knew it was going to get hot again because, you know, I'm a late finisher. So I knew, you know, I was going to have to hit the afternoon.
Yeah.
I knew that last 4 miles is brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a mind game.
Yeah.
So I knew I had a good pacer, though. I knew he was going to help me through. I knew he wasn't going to let me quit. Yeah. You know, he was a good time, you know, making me laugh and telling stories and making fun of me, and that's good stuff.
Well, so you know, you're a very like down to earth type person, and where I want to apply that here is like, so you're at the starting line. You're not the type that's like a cheerleader in your own brain, like you can do it. Right. You know, it's like it's probably like a very sober,
right.
You're logical thinker. Like at the starting line, what's going through your head?
Yeah, terrified, man.
Yeah.
I mean, full on, you know, excited.
Yeah.
Because it's what I worked a year for, right? I mean, I knew as soon as I finished Wasatch the first time, I wanted to try for the double. So I was like, so I mean, it's a full year of the build up, right? And then so super nervous, you know, but terrified. I don't ever feel like it's in the bag, like until I'm 5 miles out and I got 2 hours cushion. Because okay, I could walk this in if I have to, right? Yeah. So I don't ever feel that like just overconfidence that it's going to happen. I mean, I could do 10 of these and I don't think I'd feel like I'm going to walk through and just be fine. I mean, because anything can go wrong. Yeah. So I try and, you know, I try and be positive, but it's not happening, right? I mean, I'm calculating, especially doing Wasatch and Bear, you know, the second time for both of them, I knew what I was up against. Yeah. So the struggle for me big time at Wasatch was not thinking about every aid station down the road. Okay. It was like, just think about the next one, man. Yeah. Like get to the next one. Don't worry about mile 80 where that climb sucks and you're going to hate it and it's going to be painful. And, you know, think about you're at mile 40, man. Get to 50.
And okay, so let's say that you've set that and, you know, let's get to mile 50. You get to mile 50. How hard is that transition to say, all right, let's get to 56 now?
Yeah, way harder than it sounds, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's still like, okay, at 60, I got this, but at 70, I got this. Right. Oh, man, and then I got to drop into there, and then I got to climb up out of there, and then, that section sucks.
Do you get any anxiety around the times that you told your crew that you're going to be somewhere?
Hugely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been the hardest. One of the most difficult things is to not worry about them. Yes. Because I just think, man, and I've done it probably every single time I see them. Man, I'm sorry, I'm so slow.
I know.
It's like every time.
They know what. I mean, your brain is just so gone. Right. You're apologizing for that. Yeah. If those people who are there for you are worth, you know, their salt, they know what you're doing, and they know you're probably going to be like 5 hours late. You're like, exactly. You were so ambitious and optimistic. Like, no. Yeah. We'll see you whenever. And my wife is the same way. She's always like, if I need to leave because the kids are too much, I'll just leave. You know, like I am choosing to be there. Right. Don't care. But then in my head, I'm always like, God, I told him 5 and it's 7 and I got 4 more miles and I need to go lay down. Yeah. And so all of that it just, works into the calculus.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I've tried making spreadsheets of like,
yes.
best time, worst time, what I want to be, but this is probably reality.
Yes.
And it's it's been super hard, man. I mean, even in shorter races, I'm like, man, I'm sorry, guys. And they just look at me like, dude, we're here for you. Who cares?
And like I did it once. I did Speed Goat, and I came in, of course, later than I thought. And they were like, look where we are. Right. We're having an awesome time.
Yeah.
Speed Goat's great because the finish line is also like good. It's a great area for kids, and I've got 3 kids, and so I'm putting stuff on myself that no one else is putting on me.
Absolutely.
And it's illogical.
Yeah, completely.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's a volunteer, right? Right. I mean, my poor wife, she gets voluntold, but you know,
you will be here.
Yeah, and she's awesome.
Yeah.
And I mean, and her parents are awesome, and they're always there. And they just, if you're gonna, I've tried harder to put it in perspective of if I was crewing.
Yeah.
I'll do it all day.
Yes.
I don't care. I'm here for you, man.
You know how bad I mean, I've done it a couple times where I'm crewing and the runner is late, and I love telling him it's no big deal because it's therapy for me, because it's like, oh, it really isn't a big deal.
Right.
Because actually, I've been sitting in a lawn chair reading.
Yeah. Or cheering
no
other
cell
people
reception.
On, right? Yeah.
Like, this is a good thing.
Yeah.
So I guess a piece of that, like, how do you get through the late race survival, is be on someone else's crew so you can see if you're talking about what we have, you can see that it's not as big of a deal as you may start to feel.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, because crewing him, before I even started, it was like, okay, this is awesome. Yeah. I loved it. Loved every part of it,
Yeah.
And I mean, it is stressful to be crew because you don't want to let them down.
That's right.
You don't want to miss them.
That's right.
So, but you enjoy it, right? And they enjoy it. So
everything about it's fantastic.
Yeah. The community's huge, right? I mean, so it is given that little bit of perspective, right? Of like, okay, nobody cares.
Right.
Nobody cares. And like, nobody cares what your finish time is, right?
No.
We're obsessed with it internally.
And in the moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like,
absolutely.
Gosh, I really thought I could do 32. It's probably going to be 36.
Oh, yeah. 35, 59.
The belt buckle's the same at that. I mean, you're not getting the...
Yeah. Past 30, man, it's all the same. Who cares?
Okay, so you push through Wasatch.
Yep. Made it through.
Which oftentimes, that's a fantastic story in and of itself. But now you've got a quick turnaround.
Right.
So how many weeks until the bear?
So 3 weeks. This year it was 3 weeks. It's been 2 before, but this year was 3.
Great.
So, it's 5 days off, literally not doing anything.
Yeah.
Do it a little bit of walking, and then that Saturday, so 6 days later, start running again.
What was your volume like?
It was 8 to 10 the first Saturday, Sunday, which I actually felt way better than I thought I would.
Oh, wow.
And then I think I did 40 or 50 miles that middle week, with...
Dang.
I mean, felt like kind of a regular training week, right?
Great.
Not a bulk week, not a high end, but average. So felt pretty good. There's some things that didn't feel good.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, okay, I'm injured.
It wasn't deal breakers.
No, not at all. So it was just like kind of expected. I didn't expect it to feel good.
Yeah.
And then, the taper week came. And it's right back at it. And it was like, and I felt nervous before every race.
Yeah.
Hands down. But this one was different, right?
Was Wasatch weighing on your mind? Like what you've done, what the miles you already put on your body?
Yeah, I mean, I was assuming I was going to be tired before I even started.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, it's going to suck, right? I mean, I knew instantly before I even started that it was going to suck.
Yeah.
I mean, I put it in my head that way, which most of what I put in my head for bear was exactly what you shouldn't. I mean, early on, I felt actually pretty good getting into the first crew stop, which is like 19, right? Yeah. Felt pretty good and was doing okay, nutrition, hydration, but quickly made a turn after that. So there, big long climb, starting to warm up, and then I couldn't eat anymore.
Really? That quick?
So there's a video, and I was looking for it, so I remember exactly what I said, but it's still on my GoPro. I haven't even uploaded it yet. But I vividly remember saying, this is going to be the hardest thing I've ever done. And I'm at, mile 30. I thought, I'm going to have to dig deeper than anything I've ever done before. This is going to suck. Like, I'm tired. I can't eat. Nothing looks good at an aid station.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I was still drinking. You know, they did gnarly. So I was still drinking, you know, calories.
Yeah.
At that point, but it was rough, man.
All right. So, I mean, clearly we all understand the concept of digging deep,
Right.
but what everyone sort of unearths when they're digging is unique. What, as you're digging deep, like what are you finding in yourself? Right. What's there that you can pull on? And B, did you surprise yourself?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely surprised myself. You know, I've learned over time with, you know, struggles and addiction and whatever else that I don't have an off switch. Mm-hmm. So once I start something, if I vocalize it, I'm not going to quit unless you make me. Mm-hmm. So either I'm going to miss the cutoff time and you're going to have to pull me, or I'm death marching and it's, you know, something real bad's happened.
Yeah.
So I didn't ever think that I was going to quit. But I didn't know how hard it was actually going to be. I mean, I expected the worst. Yeah. And I told myself relentlessly that it was awful.
Yeah.
And I was delusional about how good I was doing. I thought I was doing terrible the whole time. I mean, we got to like, you know, I don't remember those aid stations, but anyway, it was right before the night.
Okay.
And crew was there. Yeah. Stuck my head in the crate with all my stuff and was crying. But and nobody really knew us because I was like laugh crying, you know. Yeah. Like I stood up and said, "Who said this was going to be easy? Which one of you said this was going to be easy?" They're like, "You dummy." I'm like, "All right, so this is going to be hard."
Yeah.
But I was doing better than I did the first time I did bear at that point, and I was moving well. It just hurt, and I kept telling myself, "Your legs are not going to come back like a normal 100. Your legs are gone already. Like Wasatch destroyed it.
We're not bouncing back.
Yeah, like you're not going to bounce back.
This is what life is going to be like.
Yeah, it's going to suck. It's going to be really hard.
On some levels, is that easier? I'm just thinking, if I know that this is what I've got, and there's no hope. This is like, so it's to me, it's Sisyphus. It's like I'm never going to get the rock to the top of the hill.
Right.
It's never going to be there. So I got to learn to be happy with what I've got.
Right.
In some ways,
yeah, I think so.
Your legs weren't coming back.
Yeah, I mean, it was like there was no up going to happen, right?
Yeah.
I was just going to ride this low for the next 40, 50, 60 miles, whatever it was going to be, you know, I mean, and come to grips with it, right? And that's, I think, was actually, you know, I tell myself is the stupid way to, you know, keep telling myself how hard it's going to be. But I was, in some ways, coming to grips with the reality that it's going to suck.
Yeah.
And it's not going to get better.
Yeah.
And, oh, well. Like, what are you going to do? Quit?
Yeah, here we
you
go.
know what I kept telling myself? Like, so what are you going to do? Give up? And I'm like, well, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just not. I wanted it so bad.
Why did you want it so bad?
You know, multiple reasons. Some vain. Sure. Like, I told people I was doing it.
Yeah.
I put it out there on social media.
Yeah.
I put it out there, and I didn't want to let people down. So the weight of everybody else's expectations, which didn't exist.
Sure. Yeah, no one's like, God, Michael's got to do this.
Yeah, man, if he fails,
what am I going to do?
Yeah. So it's like,
all hope is lost.
Yeah. What's that guy?
Yeah.
So I wanted it for that.
Yeah.
And I knew that runners that I greatly respected couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So I thought, if I can do it, man, that'd just be huge, right? I mean, so I wanted it so bad.
Yeah.
And I knew there was no quit, but I was still terrified. I mean,
did you know there was no quit because you didn't give yourself that door?
Right. Yep.
So you were just like,
there was no option.
There's one way home and it's across the finish line.
Right. There's no other option. The other option is I'm just going to get so slow that, I miss a cutoff.
Yeah.
Like that's the road out.
Yeah.
But it wasn't going to be, I wasn't going to intentionally slow down to make that happen. Right. And there wasn't an out. Yeah. There was no, okay, if I make it to here and I don't feel good, I'm going to quit. Like there just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
So I had really good pacers again, and my coach paced me for the last, couple sections. And, she's just mentally one of the strongest people I've ever met.
Really?
And she's like, vocalize it, man. So
that's good.
I'm screaming in the middle of the woods, obscenities and
nice,
saying this is so hard. Because it was, man.
Smart.
Yeah.
That's new to me. I've never thought like legit
scream
it into the mountains.
Let it go, man.
Yeah.
drop F-bombs in the woods. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
There's other people probably echoing back to you.
You're
Like,
right. Other people are just shouting back. I know.
yeah, we get it.
Yeah.
Me too, bro.
Me too.
So it was, vocalizing that helped a lot. Like she's
Yeah.
and I did it a lot, man.
Yeah.
And I don't even think I felt that I could actually cross the line. When the sun came up and I got to Beaver Mountain, so it's mile 70, whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I got a shot at this.
Yeah.
Like
Dang.
it's getting, she picked me up there and it was like, I'd been through the night.
Yeah.
I'd sleep, I literally ran while I was sleeping, dreaming, hallucinating, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Threw up for the first time and,
Oh.
went through everything I think I could possibly have gone through.
Yeah.
Including not eating for hours at a time
Okay.
and just liquid, which is just water. I mean,
Right.
that high calorie water we all intake.
Right.
So it was getting to that sunrise. I thought, maybe I can do this. Maybe it's going to happen. But I would never let myself be like, you got this.
Yeah.
Like it's happening. You're going to cross that line.
Yeah.
But inside, I continuously visioned, put that in my mind. Man, you know what it's going to feel like when you cross that line? Like the tears are going to flow.
Yeah.
The adrenaline's going to hit you. You're going to sprint through that gate.
And where are you at saying that?
So that is pretty early, honestly.
Okay.
Even before the start, I
Okay.
would say.
You were there.
I was there, man.
Yeah.
Like I knew, man, that's going to be 2 buckles, 2 plaques. Like, can you believe what it's going to feel like?
Yeah.
To do what some people that have never been able to do, right?
Yeah.
People have given up. People don't even attempt it. People think you're stupid.
Yeah.
So it's great.
Yeah.
So that's motivation. And it was just like,
Yeah.
I envisioned that. I mean, I envisioned that a lot, almost every race, right? I know that feeling now.
Yeah.
And I know that it was going to be so much sweeter than any of them that had been before. So I'm like, that was, huge motivation, right?
Yeah.
But not being able to actually let myself feel that it was going to happen until probably the last aid station.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, dude, you got
Oh, my
this,
God.
man.
Yeah.
Like, this is happening.
Then you
know?
get like an hour or two or however long that is
Yeah.
of just feeling like, oh, my God.
Right. Like
I've done
this
it.
is happening, man. And it was, it's not easy.
Yeah.
That last stretch of bears, comparable to Wasatch.
Totally.
It's hard.
It's
man.
hard.
It's no joke, right?
Yeah.
So
Up
it
and
was-
over that hill. It's like,
Yeah.
God, really? That's how we're going to finish this thing?
Yeah, I got to climb up that.
Yeah.
And I'd already done it before, so I knew what I was up against again, right?
Yeah.
So, and, the finish is even a little bit farther away now than what it used to be. So,
Yeah.
from that last aid station and
Yeah.
you're on the road and I'm just like, man, this thing's never ending,
Yeah.
but it's right there. And I ended up seeing a guy that I'd kind of yo-yoed with, and I'm like, you know what? This time, man, let's go.
Yeah.
So I was
that's great.
running like 9-minute miles, felt like I was running a 5-minute
Dang.
mile. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it was like adrenaline just took over. I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah. That's
Like,
amazing.
An unreal feeling. But it wasn't, I don't even think it was until I made the turn and mile left that I even let myself actually say, I did it, man.
Gosh.
And even now it's annoying that I, try and belittle it or,
Sure.
degrade it to
Yeah.
think like, was it really that hard?
Yeah. Well, you got your sights set on a 200? You seem like the type.
Eventually, yeah, for sure. I think I want to nail down the 100-mile thing.
Yeah.
And
I think you've got a pretty good case to toe the line of a 200. I've got I love the desert.
Right.
I want to build a body of work that would justify me signing up for Moab 240 or Cocodona.
I agree.
I've still got some work to do, but man, I think you're there. I think you're ready for it.
Yeah, they're definitely on the horizon, right? Why says, don't you dare.
Yeah.
Like, I am not, you're going to have to hire a crew.
Yeah.
And, so I think it's there for sure.
Yeah.
It's on the list. It's
Yeah.
going to happen.
Yeah.
I've got a few hundreds I want to do still,
Nice.
though.
Do you got anything for this year?
Yeah, I'm going to do Crazy Mountain 100 in Montana.
Cool.
Yeah, super excited.
Good belt buckle.
The buckle, buddy. The buckle's, what drew me in.
Yeah.
Let alone that it's in an awesome place. And
Yeah.
beautiful scenery.
Great race director too.
Yeah, I've only heard great things
Yeah.
about it. So,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to do the bear again.
Oh, great.
So I probably,
There's like a 500 person wait list this year.
yeah, they had to cap it.
Yeah. I mean, that's again, I think we'll finish here how we left off. What I love about the Bear and Wasatch is that those are two races that I think, from my perspective, have made intentional decisions to not be, no judgment, but like what Western States, they commercialize. That's great. Good for the sport. Love it. I'm a fan of that race, but Wasatch and the Bear, those still feel like
like a local feel, right? Yeah.
And man, the energy is good.
Oh yeah, yeah. And the race directors of the Bear, like, we don't want to do a lottery. We want to keep it how it is.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Keep the feel, right? And I mean, it sold out in 2 hours.
We want people like that, protecting some of those races. And and on the other end, I want those big marquee races. But man, to keep the Bear in Wasatch, it's a real treasure for Utah.
Absolutely.
It's a great choice on those two, and good job with both of them.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks for your time today, Michael.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you having me.
See you next time.
Yeah, thanks.